Trying to get everything ready here. Boy, I'm running late. Why am I running late? 8:02 this morning. Sorry about that. Show's supposed to start at 8. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office. North Georgia's only live online morning show. There are all the full numbers. You could reach the show, email the show. Anytime you want, you can email me. Reach the show right there. 8:03 this morning. Temperature's a little warmer than yesterday. Got a lot going on today. All right, so trying to think. It's always that one, where do I start at? So yesterday started the impeachment inquiry. Inquiry, not inquiry. I guess inquiry, whatever. So yesterday started the impeachment with, Kent and Bill Taylor, all right? You know that movie, okay? That movie that you see the previews and you say, I want to go see that, right? So they really build up the previews. They've got some big stars in the movie. A guy that's got a voice like Edward R. Murrow. I mean, it was even being talked about how nice of a voice. Now, we're looking to impeach. The Democrats are looking to impeach a president of the United States, and we're talking about the voice of Bill Taylor. Anyhow, and they show you all of the highlights, and you say, I want to go see that movie. I want to see that movie. And when you get there and you're watching the movie, you realize the funniest or the best parts of the movie is what they put in the highlights. Movie's a bomb. And you come out of the theater and you say, according to the previews, I really thought this would be a good movie. I'm just saying, that's yesterday. I mean, if in fact, let's just say this, okay, at the chance of, in fact, let's say the president committed an impeachable offense, okay? I was looking for it yesterday. Because if and when someone in this country abuses the power to the point that they need removed from office, I'm not going to turn a Democrat blind eye to it. I'm not going to turn a Republican blind eye to it. I would be open-minded. Look, I would come to you this morning to highlight the impeachable offenses that I was able to pull out with the President of the United States. Adam Schiff lied several times yesterday. We'll play one of the biggies, okay? Jim Jordan did the job he was intended to do, and he did it. He got the job done. So did Nunes. So did Ratcliffe. Actually, Will Hurd. Now, that's the concern that many had, was Congressman Will Hurd from Texas. And even Will Hurd highlighted that Ukraine has gotten much needed military support, money, support, weapons from day one in the Trump administration. Now, interestingly, because most people will not put this together, there was even testimony yesterday that from the first round of money that got released, money gets released, from the first round of money that got released, just the other day, I'll say this, you can find it in the testimony if you want to go through the 12 hours of nothing. But just the other day, a weapons system or weapons from the first round of money showed up. So it's not exactly that they do a wire transfer. Once $200 million is approved for foreign aid, whether it's weapons, whatever it may be, military aid, it's not like a wire transfer goes to Ukraine and they're looking at their bank account and they see $200 million, okay? So what was explained yesterday, and I think it was from Kent, okay? What was explained yesterday was that Ukraine has just received some things that were released in the very first round of financial military much needed. You hear much needed military aid. If it was much needed military aid, why didn't they back in 2017? We're in 2019. Why not in 2017 did they not fast track some of this equipment that just showed up in 2019 from the first aid package in 2017? When it was the former president of Ukraine. So, bad movie, all the highlights, CNN, MSNBC, they don't know what to do because they tried everything to get you interested in this. And yesterday and this morning, they only have one takeaway. That Sondland had a conversation with the president on the telephone, I think while at lunch, while Sondland's sitting there with one of Bill Taylor's employees, somebody that works in his department, that overheard Trump say, "How's it going with Biden's investigation?" Really? That was yesterday. They actually needed something new for the headlines. New. Because they were well aware yesterday there would be no headlines this morning. So they created headlines once again. When is the last time, okay? Let me say this to you, okay? When is the last time they got President Trump on something and it ended up being true? What I mean is these phone calls, these things that happen. You have all these anonymous sources. Now, this guy's not anonymous. He's going to testify in a couple of days. So let's get to this. And then we'll talk about, hold on a minute. Wait a minute. Here we go. Let's go to, let me see which one I want first, Destiny. Because this happened. All right, you remember when the media, was running, and when I say that, CNN, MSNBC, just running over and over Bill Taylor's clear understanding. He clearly understood this. You remember they did all the roundtables. We talked about it. Let's go to the video that says a clear understanding. Jim Jordan yesterday. Play the clear understanding from Bill Taylor.
Ambassador Taylor recalls that Mr. Morrison told Ambassador Taylor that I told Mr. Morrison that I conveyed this message to Mr. Yarmak on September 1st, 2019 in connection with Vice President Pence's visit to Warsaw and a meeting with President Zelensky. Now, this is his clarification. Let me read it one more time. Ambassador Taylor recalls that Mr. Morrison told Ambassador Taylor that I told Mr. Morrison that I conveyed this message to Mr. Yarmak on September 1st, 2019 in connection with Vice President Pence's visit to Warsaw and a meeting with President Zelensky. We got 6 people having 4 conversations in one sentence, and you just told me this is where you got your clear understanding. Based on this, I mean, I've seen church prayer chains that are easier to understand than this.
Ambassador Taylor's clear understanding. Well, see, they knew that Jordan was going to chop up that clear understanding Ambassador Taylor had. And they knew that Jordan and the rest of the Republicans, especially Jordan, would pounce on the fact that, guess what? Ambassador Taylor has met with the Ukrainian president 3 times. Even after the phone call, and the Ukrainian President Zelensky never told Ambassador Taylor of any kind of push, any kind of request of an investigation, and any quid pro quo. Nothing whatsoever did he discuss with Ambassador Taylor. You remember part of the supposedly deal was Zelensky was supposed to come out to CNN and do a statement in front of the camera. Yet to be done to this day. never mentioned to Ambassador Taylor. They forgot to tell you that. Now I'm going to get to just in a minute because yesterday they could not. These are the headlines this morning. All right. Now the communists. Let me see which the next one I have. See who this is. Hold on there. Let's go with the communist Chris Wallace. Do you have that one for Fox News? Let's run the communist Chris Wallace from Fox News.
Well, as somebody who's covered a lot of trials, and I know Judge Starr has probably been in a lot more than I have, when you listen to direct examination and the prosecutor is talking to the plaintiff and the plaintiff is getting a chance to tell his story, it usually is pretty devastating. And then when you get cross-examination by the defense attorney, sometimes it turns out not to be quite as effective. So you have to be somewhat cautious in reacting to what we've heard so far. We haven't heard what Devin Nunes or his lawyer, Stephen Castor, is going to ask. Having said that, I think that William Taylor was a very impressive witness and was very damaging to the president. First of all, as you pointed out, he took very copious notes at almost every conversation. When he put quotes in his opening statement, he said those were direct quotes from what was said. It also doesn't hurt that he has a voice like Edward R. Murrow, so he's a pretty impressive presence up there, and I think very non-political. He went out of his way to talk about what he knew, what he was specifically testament to. The only thing he talked about was a strong feeling that it was in the U.S. national security interests to support Ukraine in the fight against Russia. But he certainly wasn't taking any partisan position. I thought the two most important parts of his testimony were his recounting, and this is new news, July 26. He says he has found out since he testified before the committee in closed doors that Gordon Sondland, who was really kind of the point person between President Trump and the Ukrainians, much more so than Taylor was, who never actually talked to the president, was on the phone in a restaurant in Ukraine with the president on July 26th, the day after the Trump-Zelensky phone call, and that he could overhear, the staff member for Taylor could overhear the president saying, what about the investigations? So clearly the investigations, and by that Taylor thought the investigations into the Democrats in 2016, also the investigation into Biden, that was very much on the president's mind. And then the aide asked Sondland what the president thought about Ukraine, and this is a quote from the Taylor statement. Ambassador Sondland responded that President Trump cares more about the investigations of Biden, which Giuliani was pressing for. He was asked, queried about it more than, and Taylor said Ukraine. One other exchange. Daniel Goldman asked him, have you ever seen, and remember, this is a guy who has spent 40 years, almost 40 years in the Foreign Service, have you ever seen foreign aid conditioned on the political interest of the president? And Taylor said very firmly, no, I have not.
First of all, William Taylor's very damaging testimony. Can you believe what they are reporting? Very damaging testimony. William Taylor, he's quite the note taker. See, they set this up. And that's what's interesting to me is how we need to pay attention to how they set things up. Do you understand? Chronological order was, first of all, to lead you to believe, the communist Chris Wallace, to lead you to believe that William Taylor, his testimony was very damaging. And then he's an avid note taker. And then he's very soothing on the ears. He has a voice like Edward R. Murrow. So he did the whole setup. But then he went into, on the 26th, Gordon Sondland on the phone in a restaurant. Now, what they want you to believe, and I want to know this from the president, I want to know how he opens up a conversation. All right? I want to know how he opens up the conversation. I want to know if he... See, let me just back up a little bit. Okay, years ago, okay, I will open up. Are you able to talk? Can you talk? Okay, that's 8 out of 10 times when I call you, I will open up. Can you talk? Okay, Now, years ago, and I know the president's a very smart man. He is a brilliant genius. He's self-described brilliant genius, the president of the United States. But I come from a generation that if I dialed the phone, I knew you answered it in your kitchen. So I knew I could say, "Hey, how are you?" if you answered the phone, and you know what's going on. I knew years ago if I dialed the phone, I got you at your office. Okay? But since the day of the cell phone has come out, there's all kinds of new phone etiquette. Now, I don't know what the president of the United States uses, but you can't just call somebody and just go into something. For the most part, if you use phone etiquette, you don't know if they're standing in the line at the bank. You don't know, and if somebody says, "Can I call you right back?" I mean, you don't know if they're in the grocery store line. You don't know where they're at. They could be in something very private. I mean, seriously, that they cannot take the call. So what you want us to believe is that Gordon Sondland, because if these are the dumbasses we've got working for us, we've got a bigger problem than this. You remember the other day I told you there's dumb? Remember? We talked about that. There's dumb. People do dumb things. Dumb things happen, right? We've talked about that, right? And then there's that damn dumb. You want me to believe that the EU ambassador, Gordon Sondland, and the president of the United States are that damn dumb, right? That the president calls him at a restaurant and Sondland doesn't think about, okay, I don't know about the guy sitting next to me. All right, maybe I should have this conversation at a different time. Yes, Mr. President. Well, I was about to eat my salad. Yes. Yes, I have a steak ordered. Yes, medium. Yes, just like you told me, sir. Yes. The little potatoes? Yes, I have the little potatoes. And you want to know about the investigation? Sure. Hold on. Let me ask the waiter for a little more of the dressing. Can I get a little more dressing on my salad? Yes, Mr. President. Yes, I've already told him, we're going to kick Biden's ass in 2020, and we got to have this information. And then he's looking over at the guy. Shh, you didn't hear nothing. Shh, just give it out. All right. I don't want him to know. I don't want him to know that you're here with me and I'm in a restaurant. Maybe it happened. Don't know. Seriously. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If the President of the United States of America blew out a phone call like being described, okay? If they did. And there was this other person sitting there in a restaurant, and Sondland discussed it with the other person, okay? Just how damn dumb are these people if it happened? I don't think it did. But that's all they had yesterday. So Chris Wallace said, more about Biden. What does the president think? What about the investigation the president wants to know? Okay, there was a staff member there. One of Taylor's staff members are there. Overheard. Okay, so he said he overheard the president say, "What about the investigation?" And then he got off the phone and he said, "What does the president think of Ukraine?" He thinks more about the Biden investigation than he does Ukraine. Okay. Overhearing a phone conversation. Folks, you need to stay clear on this. They are intending to impeach and remove a president of the United States. Polling. If the actual truth and the facts 3 weeks ago or 6 weeks ago would not have been set up this way since the day of the phone call by the corrupt media, those polling numbers would be nowhere near. The polling numbers are only where they're at due to and based on the corrupt media pushing people to believe something happened that didn't. That simple. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back after these brief messages.